If you are not asking for a pay increase every single year, you are essentially asking for a pay cut every single year. Boss, can I please have a pay cut?
Bruh.
Brixis, you don't have to ask. I will grant you the pay cut. You didn't even... You silly man. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, but let me explain what I mean. You know that pesky little annoying thing we like to call inflation that we all loathe and just... Inflation. Yeah, that thing. It is the reason why you are likely receiving a pay cut every single year, despite receiving a raise.
Huh?
I know that many of us don't account for inflation when we work with numbers, especially when it comes to financial numbers, but yeah, I think we need to start. In society, we are essentially programmed to think in nominal terms. But really, we should be thinking in real terms. And don't worry, I will get to what nominal and real values mean later on in the video, but for now, just take my word for it. Once we shift our mindset to start thinking in real terms instead of nominal terms, our soul is probably gonna leave and just eventually end up in the shadow realm, because it's a lot. It's a lot. But before we dive into this, I'm Brixis, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new, welcome. I post my regular content every Wednesday, and I post YouTube shorts every single day. If you want to keep up, please subscribe to that little notification bell icon, and I promise you will not regret it. In fact, you may even learn a thing or two about inflation and whether or not you're actually losing money every year. But if you're not watching the video all the way through, how would you expect to find out? The goal of this video is to get you to start questioning things. Am I getting a pay cut every year? Should I start thinking in real terms instead of nominal terms? Oh, what's going on, man? Should I leave my job? Should I find another job? Should I just start job hopping every 3 to 5 years? All of these questions may have answers if you watch the video all the way through. So with that, let's just get right into the video. Am I getting a pay cut? This is something that everybody watching this video should be asking themselves. I don't care if you're making 30K a year, 100K a year, 250K a year, or even $500,000 a year. It does not matter. You need to start asking the question, am I receiving a pay cut? You know what's crazy? I know people in the healthcare industry and people in government, yeah, people in government, go figure, that have not received even as much as a $50 discount in years, let alone a pay increase. A pay what? Yeah, it's crazy. Work with me for a second here. You remember back in the day, you know, the early 2000s when 60K was like, yo, you're making 60K a year? Damn, yo, where do you work? I'm rich, bitch! 60K back in the early 2000s was essentially the 100K of today. Let's be real. Now imagine 20 years later, that person that's making 60K a year back in the early 2000s is still making 60K a year 20 to 25 years later. Huh? Despite everything else going exponentially up in value. Yeah. How is that even legal? And more importantly, how are you in your right mind going to allow that to even happen? How do you go 20 years without receiving a single pay increase? What's going on?
I know very well what you represent. You represent the idiocy of today.
That was disrespectful.
Let's look at the US inflation from 2020 to present. In 2020, the average inflation was about 1.2. In 2021, the average was about 4.7, and in 2022, it was 8.0. In 2023, it was around 4.1. And we all know those numbers are much higher than they reported, but for all intents and purposes, we'll work with these numbers. That means if you did not receive a pay increase that was at the bare minimum on par with inflation, you essentially took an indirect pay cut. Words talk, numbers scream. The numbers are there. Just look for yourself. Earlier in the video, I talked about two terms, nominal and real. Let's dive into what the heck I even meant by that. So if we're talking about nominal values, essentially what we're saying is we're not adjusting for inflation. So if you made 100K a year in 2021, 3 years later, if you receive no pay increase whatsoever, you are still making 100K a year. Nothing's changed. However, in real terms, we are adjusting for inflation, hence the term real, the real value. So if you were making 100K a year in 2021 and you received no pay increases, yeah, you're no longer making 100K a year. Yeah, sure, nominally, yeah, you're making 100K a year, but in terms of real value, purchasing power, your 100K a year is more like 80K a year. You lost 20% of your purchasing power, mwah, just like that. Now let's pause, take a break, take a breath, let's assess. What are we talking about here? What do you mean if I didn't get any pay increases in the last 3 years, I essentially lost money? What's going on here? It means if you do not go ahead and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, you will be in a perpetual state of loss of purchasing power for the rest of your life. You will forever lose money. And yeah, that 100K a year today will be worth zero over the next 10 years if you do not go ahead and smash the like button. So if you want to avoid that, I just go ahead and smash it. It doesn't cost you a thing. It's free. It takes a second. So do your boy a favor. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, now back to our example. So yes, you made 100K in 2021. 3 years later, no pay increase. Well, guess what that means? Because of all the inflation that accumulated over the last 3 years, if you didn't receive a pay increase, you took a 20% pay cut. So your 100K a year is really more like 80K a year. And if you wanted to maintain that purchasing power of 100K a year, you would have had to receive a 25% increase. That is an increase of about 8.5% a year. Who the heck is getting 8.5% a year on average? That's not gonna happen. So most people, I'm sorry, but they took a pay cut in the last 3 years. Isn't that diabolical? Like, how is this even, like, oh my God! I know, it's crazy. I literally at a loss for words. I'm the one making this damn video, and I'm at a loss for words. I'm scratching my head thinking, this is the system that was agreed upon. This is okay.
Oh my God.
I guess so. Once you shift your mindset from thinking in terms of nominal values to real values, life gets so much more depressing. And what's crazy is the Federal Reserve in the US, they actually want to maintain an inflation rate of 2% a year. I don't understand that. They want the value of the dollar to go down. It means the value of a dollar is literally trending to zero. To zero. In fact, since the inception of fiat currency in 1971, when we pretty much got off the gold standard, yeah, we have lost, just guess how much purchasing power we have lost since 1971. We lost 86% of the purchasing power of the dollar. That is why grandma and grandpa were able to buy a freaking house with a coupon and a $100 bill. Yeah, I'm gonna buy that house over there in the corner. You got change for 100?
Bruh.
But it's a reality. This is not even funny. Like, that is why our grandparents were able to buy a house for thousands of dollars instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. Now, in 2024, you can get a cardboard box for $1 million. That is a result of the purchasing power of the dollar trending to zero. You gotta ask yourself one very important question. Am I getting screwed here? And after you inevitably come to the conclusion that yes, I am getting screwed here, then you can start to ask yourself, okay, what can I do to mitigate all of this nonsense? So before I go any further, I just want to say that the COVID era, 2020 to 2024 or to present, yeah, unprecedented times. We had inflation like never before seen. It was absolutely ridiculous. That is why there was such a gargantuan amount of purchasing power lost during just those 4 short years. So not every year is typically like that. That's just crazy. On average, it's about 2% a year inflation. Still bad, but not ludicrous. Shout out your boy Ludicrous. Okay, so what can you do? So number one, you can ensure that you're at the very least receiving a raise that is on par with inflation. And if you're not, then your bonus and your stock options better be in your package. And if it's not, sayonara, bro, I'm out of here. And number two, job hop every few years. I don't know why there's such a bad stigma about hopping jobs. Oh man, this person's not loyal, man. They're going to a new job every 2 to 3 years. We don't want this person. Going from job to job is a way to maintain your purchasing power or to beat inflation. I think there was a study back then. I'll try to find it. The study was, if you are not hopping from job to job every 2 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years, don't quote me on that, then you are essentially over long enough time, right? I think it's like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, you lost as much as 50% of purchasing power. You basically took a 50% pay cut over like 10 years. It's insane. The reality is we give these employers so much blood, sweat, and tears. And what do we get in return? Not very much. So at the end of the day, remember, the relationship between an employer and employee is strictly transactional. You wake up every morning, you go to a job, you do a job, you get a pay after 2 weeks, rinse, repeat. That's it. They're not your friend, they're not your pal, they're not your buddy. They are nothing more than your employer. So treat them as such, because they will have no problem treating you as an employee. Because when push comes to shove, guess what? You're out of here. I gotta save my own ass, I gotta save my company's ass, you're gone. Sorry, I thought we were friends. Friends? You're my employee. Well, you were my employee.
That one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
You're being robbed and you don't even know it. That is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. thus fortifying the ever-increasing wealth disparity in your country. It is just very sad. The system is rigged. First step that you can take is to educate yourself. Ask questions such as, am I losing money every single year? There are so many online calculators that will tell you how much purchasing power you've lost over the years. I'd be so curious to know down below in the comment section. So let me know, how much purchasing power have you lost since 2020, 2019, 2018? Do you think the system is rigged? Do you think something should change? Don't even bother asking the question because nothing is going to change. Although, no, that's not true. Eventually, this system will implode in itself because, I mean, if we've lost 86% of the purchasing power since 1971 and the value of a dollar is trending to zero, I mean, that sounds like something's going to implode to me. So I guess it's only a matter of time. Could be in 10 years, could be in 20, could be in 50, who knows, but the dollar will not be around forever. But that is an entirely different topic for an entirely different video. So I won't even digress to get into that, but you know what? Maybe that will be a video for a later time. And with that, I thank you all for the opportunity to share my thoughts and my insights. I really appreciate it. Trust me, I really do. And if you haven't liked the video already, please do. I greatly appreciate it. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to the next one. BKO.